I did my coat. Okay. Do I unmute here? Do I unmute it on this piece here?
No, you can keep yourself muted.
Okay. So can everybody hear me, I guess? All right, great. All right. Great. Welcome, welcome, and good evening, everybody. In the fine land of the city of Providence, state of Rhode Island. So this is Wednesday, April 6, 2022. This is the City Council Charter Review Commission. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Chairman John Gliassi,
Present.
Vice Chairman Oscar Vargas,
Present.
Councilwoman Carmen Castillo, present. Commissioner Brian Principe is absent. Commissioner Nina Pande is absent. Commissioner Matthew McCleary is absent. Commissioner Tiana Ochoa,
Present.
Commissioner Robert Rishi,
Present.
Commissioner Dr. Wayne Montague.
Present.
We have 6 present and 3 absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you, thank you. All right, so the first up, by the commission members that are coming and attending this evening, let the record reflect that City Solicitor Ken Shiverini is present. All right, and we also have one of our intrepid helpers, Sean Bouchard, and also Councilwoman Deputy Majority Leader Mary Kay Harris. So with that, item number 1, Madam Clerk, is Article 2, Elections, Section 204, Wards and Ward Boundaries. We have Jessica Signa, Chairman, with the committee on Ward Boundaries. Is she present? Why don't you come forward and state your name for the record, and
You could sit right here if you like.
I'll let the record reflect that President Pro Tem Pedro Escobar is present. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
How you doing? So you have some, proposed ideas of some sort for the committee to listen to?
Yes,
Okay, so what do you have any, you have a pass out? or
I
handout?
do. There's a presentation.
Okay, so before we do that, we need to do this first, Madam Clerk. We need to identify for the record. It is
It's just the first few. You don't need,
which pages do you want me to?
and where it says additional recommendation. So
Okay, you want to do it again?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The first 7.
The first 7 and the last 7.
The first 7.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, yeah? So Matt,
There are recommendations after.
Yes, those are if you needed to do anything further.
But why don't we just put the whole thing in?
well, I gotta just focus on that's what she's doing.
Those
Talk
are
about
from the.
cinema. I got it.
All right.
I'm gonna just, I got it. Okay, let's stay focused. So let's do those first 7 pages. We'll identify as exhibit. what, Madam?
13.
Exhibit 13, a motion to that
Yeah,
effect. Commissioner
Make
Ritchie.
that motion, Mr. Chairman.
There a second?
Second.
Commissioner Montague. Discussion, all in favor? Thank you. Madam Clerk, make sure this matter is entered into the record as exhibit 13. So noted. Madam, you have the mic. Do you want to take us through your exhibit?
Great, thank you all. I'll introduce myself. My name is Jessica Signa. I'm the former chair of the Providence Redistricting Committee. So we just finished the committee work. It's now in the hands of the city council. And so I thought I'd come bring some recommendations for that part of the charter since I was intimately involved in that process. So thank you so much for seeing me this evening. So my first recommendation is that I would think it would behoove the city to put down in writing that the city should draw its boundaries first. Right now, the way the process works is the cities and towns of the state wait for the state redistricting to do its work and complete its work. It's just sort of an informal agreement that this is how the
It's not,
process works.
it's not in the charter.
It's not in the charter currently.
Who's the informal agreement with?
There's no, it's just sort of a unsaid
Okay.
truth where the state does its congressional House and Senate lines first, and then the cities then come and draw their lines. And the situation that happens is, by the time it gets to the city, we have lines that might be sort of overlapping with our neighborhood boundaries, or lines that we may want to draw our own boundaries on, but we're beholden to the Senate or the House district lines. And so we are not able to always efficiently and effectively draw the lines that we would want to draw for our city.
Is that in the interest for them though? Because if we draw ours, does that mean when they start drawing theirs, they are beholden to our lines?
I would hope that that would be the case.
Is that the case?
No, that's what
No,
I'm
it's
saying.
not.
Could I ask if the,
So-
Mr. Chairman, could I ask if the issue has to do with the establishment of polling places to make it more efficient?
So that is one of the issues, but that's not all of the issues. So right now, where we had several city councilors come before the committee and ask for lines to be in certain places because it may not have made sense for the line to be someplace. And it was effectively impossible to draw the line any other way because we would have been creating this very small pocket precinct. So right now,
Yeah, right.
that's one way, but we would have lots of different challenges drawing those lines. Also, we have senators and House people from outside of Providence coming in, essentially effectively telling the citizens of Providence where the lines will be, because we are beholden to the communities that come into the city. The lines that come into the city. It's really important to avoid these pocket precincts. The state law has it at 500 as a minimum of voters in a district, up to 3,000. There's a bill right now before the General Assembly to move it to 3,500 voters, but that still doesn't give us a lot of room. So right now the city has 80 polling places. So that means every election, the Board of Canvassers has to find 80 polling places. It's approximately $3,000 to $4,000 per polling place to manage. So when we're adding those costs over the decade, that's a lot to manage. Okay. Also, when the data is released, it's released April 1st, 2031, it'll be the next year. We had to wait a long time this time, only because of the issues with the census and COVID. But it's my belief that the charter now states that the committee is appointed in January, and so that is a good timeline. Because you could appoint the committee in January and at the same time hire a consultant right away. So then you're working through the city process, sort of starting the process through January through April. And then as April comes, then you're ready to hit the ground running. The state typically doesn't start its process until late fall. And then they don't end the process typically until February of the next year. So I think that does give Providence enough time to go through that timeline that already exists in the charter.
When is the census, isn't part of a time schedule because of when the census is fully available?
Yes.
So when's the census
So
available?
the census will happen in April 1st of 2030. And then the data the PL 94-171 is redistricting data that's always available April 1st of the following year. So it'll be ready April 1st, 2031. It just happened to be delayed in 2021 because of COVID, but it'll be April 1st, 2031.
So April 1st is the traditional time when it's available?
Yes.
Okay.
April 1st is both census day and then when the redistricting data is available the following year. Okay. Any other questions about that? If not, I'll move on.
Is that in a written agreement or just?
There's no written agreement. It's just more of a, this is how it's always
It's
been
not
done.
controlled by any state statutes that you're aware of.
No. Okay. So and these recommendations also are, they're not, the reason why they're numbered this way is because they're in our report as well. So that is recommendation 7 from the committee's final report. So committee's final report recommendation number 3 is that I'm not sure that it is for this essential piece of the charter, but it could be part of it, where I think we should encourage the use of the LUCA program, which is the local update for census addresses. This is critical. This is where we know and we tell the census where every single address is for every single dwelling in the city. We were on the road in many different communities across the city, and we heard time and time again, there's going to be housing where there haven't been anyone living in our lifetime. So by the next census, the population of Providence is going to be much larger, and there's going to be new housing units where there hadn't been before. And so we're going to need to make sure that we count all of those people where they are. It's really important. So the census actually does have a program to go and update local addresses. And I think that this should be somewhere in the city charter, where we should make sure that we as a city do participate in this process and participate it in a way that actually does update. So for example, Central Falls received a grant and they went door to door with tablets, and where they found an address that wasn't on their master list, they then updated it. This resulted in a 16.6% increase in their population from the last census, because they were able to go and find addresses that had never existed before, and they increased their population. And so one of the things we heard before the committee was that people didn't trust the numbers, people didn't think that the census was good data, and I think that a way to help people have more faith in the data and information is to actually provide the census good data in which to find the population.
So you're thinking that the city should be in this, get deeper into the census taking process, and then somehow put that in the chart, because the process could change. How you're talking about the whatever modern technology you do today can change tomorrow. So my concern is, even if you do what you just said, there's always going to be people who said, I don't trust the data. Okay, that is I hear it all the time, and I get it. And it's not, and it depends who's in power, who's not in power, who's not in power. So you'll hear it all the time. Okay? So now, not only really question the federal census process, now they'll start challenging and questioning the city's own little thing. Now, don't get me wrong, the city does a lot of good things, a lot of good things right. The city, there's a lot of things the city just needs to get the basic things functioning again. Okay, I mean, just having safety and cleanliness and basic education. As we get deeper and deeper in trying to expand the parameters of the city's ability to do these other things that federal and state governments have greater resources and ability to do, and the city has limited resources and ability to do, it ends up becoming more problematic for us. So I'm concerned putting something like that kind of idea. I mean, if the future administrations wants to go and do that and make a program, buy a program, I think that's always worth it, but I think we always have to be cautious of that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I'm just saying, this is like,
No, right.
because we end up getting every day that I've been governed, I see the city go away from their basic mission statement. Right? They don't do what the basic things people expect aren't being done well enough, but we're doing other things that would be left to the federal and state government, and then therefore we have lack of resources to do the basic things.
And the way it was done, I should know more about it. In Central Falls, and there was a campaign to save the congressional seat.
Yeah.
In part, but it was a public awareness campaign to get people to fill them out. The city should, for tax purposes, know where every structure is anyhow,
Right.
and be taxing them. So I'm trying to figure in my mind, like, wait.
I'll clarify, actually.
I mean, it could be something like this, a city policy or something to talk about. But putting in the charter, when this thing that type of stuff can always change. Like 10 years from now, next year, they come with another type of census process. So
I appreciate that. So I'll just be clear, I wasn't suggesting that we do exactly what Central Falls does. That's in the illustrative example. What I am suggesting is that, and perhaps it's just a policy, and then forgive me, but I would say that the LUCA program is a program that has been, that most cities do participate in. All I'm saying is that we shouldn't just sort of send the same data set that we've always sent, that data set should be up.
Right, and we're not saying that you shouldn't. I think we're just trying to figure out how it fits into city government, into the charter, which is sort of like the Constitution of the United States in the sense it's a very small book. And then there's all these other documents and laws and agreements and other ways to do things, you know?
I understand. So moving on to recommendation 4. As one of the 2 non-public elected members, I think that that should be a part of the charter. Where right now it has 5 members, and it talks about from the majority party and the minority party, the 3 from majority and 2 from minority. But I would like to see the charter enhanced to have, commit to putting non-elected public members on. I thought that it was very well received from the community. It demonstrates a public and transparent process. And it actually provides for a variety of voices in the process. So, thank you for that. And then a final recommendation that wasn't part of the committee's report, but as written now, the final report from the committee is due when the map is submitted to the city council. But we sort of have a temporal issue where the map was submitted right out of committee. And at the same time, if you read it by the charter, that's when our final report was supposed to be submitted, but we actually made changes to our map that final night. And so we couldn't possibly write a final report about a final map at the same time submitting our map to committee. So I just asked that that be changed. So when the report due date might be shifted later in the process. We were able to, Sean is not here at the moment, but he was able to make it so we could submit the report at the later date. Sean, do you want to talk about the process that we sort of went through in order to submit the report at a later date?
I certainly could, if you'd like. Yeah.
I'm not sure how we shift the temporal nature of it, but it definitely needs a shift.
So I think I can just quickly describe the report itself. So per the charter, the Ward Boundary Committee is required to do a final public hearing where they take public testimony, and then at that final meeting, vote out the map, which obviously suggests that there is opportunity at the final meeting to make alterations to the map, which poses a technical challenge to have a final report describing the procedure, process, and changes made by a committee when changes are made during a meeting, and yet your report is supposed to reflect all changes. So unless you have somebody literally finalizing the report in real time at the meeting, at some point you're going to have to make a motion to basically authorize a report after the fact, which is essentially what we tried to do at our meeting for this procedure, to try and be as in conformity with the charter as possible, but in some way recognizing that the report will be finalized post-meeting would certainly be assistive to try and, again, the charter is calling for a report while also calling for alteration or potential alteration at the final meeting. So I think that was the difficulty that we faced in trying to be as compliant as possible. So I could certainly identify that as the challenge that we faced. I'll defer to the committee as to if any alterations you'd like to make to the charter itself. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that is all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for all the work you did on that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Next is Article 11, Boards and Commission, Section 1103, Province Human Relations Commission.
She's not present, but they have no changes.
Thank you. That is Boards and Commissions again, Section 1107, Province Housing Authority. We have the executive director here, please. And maybe some company, I don't know.
Yes, just me, but I brought them.
Okay.
I was
So
told.
come forward, state your name, who you are. Yep. And we're looking at the commission, let the Commissioner Nina Payne is present.
So noted.
Go to section 1107. Okay. Oh, yes, also Councilman Anthony's present. She's so quiet, I can.
And in your packet, you have also
Oh,
another,
great, okay, so we have another exhibit. So is it
this will be 14.
these two right here? Or
No, just that one.
Okay, so, and for the record, it's a letter from Executive Director Melissa Sanzaro to us, dated April 1st, 2022. It identifies exhibit 14. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Ritchie, second by Commissioner Panday. Discussion, all in favor? That's entered into the record. You have the mic. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Melissa Sanzaro. I'm the Executive Director of the Providence Housing Authority. Here with me tonight are the two Deputy Directors of the Housing Authority, Peter Asen and Jackie Martinez.
Welcome.
Mr. Council President Igliozzi, thank you very much for this opportunity to engage the PHM and its board on the changes or proposed changes to the home rule charter, specifically section 1107. I must send a message from the chairman of the board, Nicholas Racines, who apologized for not being able to come. He did have an emergency this evening. So based on the input from the board members, have two changes to propose to the commission this evening. One is to change references to the terms chairman and vice chairman in the document to have a more gender neutral terms such as chair and vice chair. And then the second change we suggest is that the PHAs of the Providence Housing Authority's quorum requirement be changed to 6 commissioners instead of the current 7 requirement. Reasoning behind that request is that the Housing Authority does have challenges with quorums at times. We've had a great track record over the past 3 years, but more specifically in the last couple of years, post-pandemic, it's pretty difficult we worry about a quorum all the time, and we have important business that we do need to conduct. This change also would align with the state, Rhode Island state law that for the Housing Authority specifically requires 6.
So just let me talk about the first one. I think that's gonna be one of those all-inclusive things where we can probably just put a notation that,
I'm running a list of
Throughout-
things that we
throughout
can say
the-
that are either
throughout the-
technical.
the charter, just make it, gender neutral chair, vice chair, and we can clean that up to the whole charter, one simple stroke. Is that fine,
Right,
everyone?
yes,
So I think we were gonna accommodate that issue on it, but can add it to the list, right?
so,
Yeah, unless the other commissioners, I'm sorry. You have the-
Madam Director, you're saying that there's a state law on point, that 6 is the majority.
Yes.
Are you using that state law now?
No, we go with the more strict,
Okay.
and we use 7. We've been using 7.
So then then that would fit in our cleanup section, I think, is to be in alignment with the state.
Where did, just can you show me,
Sure. It's
oh, it's right there,
45,
on
25,
A, right?
10
It says,
years, yeah.
the authority may delegate to one or more agents.
Are you talking about the section 1107 of the state?
Yes, no,
Okay.
I'm looking at,
It's
so
about
they said
mid-paragraph.
11 commissioners and they wanted it 7.
Mhm.
So the only thing I would ask is just so I recognize your request and why you're asking, but I'd like to see if the system, so just, I was wondering, can you do some history way back when they put this, why did they want to do that back then? Like, why did they want a majority versus a simple majority? Was there some rationale? Can we just
I'll
visit
attempt
that?
to do it,
See
yeah.
if there's any history on it. I don't think it's a big problem, but there must have been a reason why they did it. I don't know why. Maybe they just simply said do it.
And actually, why was the law changed? Why did they trump the charter, so to speak, with state statute?
Yeah, so something happened, right?
Yeah,
So if we could just kind of,
Yeah.
that's all. That's fine, man.
Could be an even number.
Even number.
Well, I know,
We
I
like
mean,
to be even.
oh, I think I know that. That's exactly what, it was. Because it's an even number,
There's an even
because
number.
you can't get anything done.
Yep.
Because
Three.
your stat, because, here's the thing, because, for example, council is 15, right?
Mhm.
We have to, so you could have I guess they want to make sure they could always get something done and passed, maybe?
4 against 3.
Maybe that's what I was
Yeah,
right,
that's what
maybe?
it is.
yeah, 4 to 4 fails.
Yeah, 3 fails and
Maybe that's the reason why.
That's probably right.
7, it's number 7 is.
I'm just telling this, but I'm just,
He can take a look.
but you might want to take it, that makes sense, make a good point. right? No, I mean, it's about the idea, I guess, that you could end up being, you can't get something move forward, that's right.
Wow,
Yeah, okay.
you would need,
You would need.
yeah, you would need one more, so
Yeah.
you would need 5 to 3 if everybody was there. What's your quorum slot, right? What's, how many?
Quorum now, we have 11 members.
11,
Yeah.
okay.
The quorum 7.
7 for the home charter and 6 for the state.
So you can't get 7 people typically to,
We've had a really good track record, but it's been very difficult. We always worry about it, and we have important business to move forward every month.
sure,
Yeah,
you know, well, that's a story for another day, I guess, what you do with people who don't show up at board meetings if that's not.
Yes.
Tonight,
So it's, listen, if you can just,
I'll-
check, because we don't want to now cause something down the road, no, down the road, that end either. Maybe there's,
But actually, there's a state statute on point, and
then,
I don't know if this.
Well, no, the statute
is
says what-
irrelevant,
if it doesn't, because this made it more restrictive versus liberal.
right, but this state statute you referenced, make this provision.
I don't know.
We can take a look at it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just saying, there is.
Sorry?
No, if I could just ask, does the state statute have a larger body of the board of commissioners, right? So if they're saying 6 is a quorum, is it 13 appointed commissioners, right? Because that doesn't make sense if it's a majority.
we're talking about for the housing authority
That's what I
specifically.
think, yeah.
Yeah, it's 11 in the state.
So it's 11 in the state as well?
Mhm.
Okay, because the only other way around it, if you kept 7, is if you added more members, and then hopefully you would get to the quorum of the majority for vote. Right, so if you do 13 commissioners.
Well,
That's- I-
they got
that's
the
what the
same
state-
problem by increasing, you know, having the supermajority. That statute you reference, is that for the city of Providence housing authority, or is that for a state housing authority?
It's the city of Providence specifically.
Well, I think the city went there and asked for that at some point.
Just the solicitor, can you check it out, see what the story is? Okay.
Thank you for your consideration.
No problem.
Thank you for attending.
So have you been following this charter or the,
We've been
doing the more
following-
restrictive? More
We're doing the more
restrictive?
restrictive.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. So the law just made it more liberal. Made it, the charter's more restrictive, which by the way, is fine, legal. All right, I got it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for your time, and keep up the good work over there. We hear good things about the Providence Housing Authority. Here it's in a great neighborhood too. So we have, next one is Boards and Commissions, Section 1108, Providence Redevelopment Agency.
Yes, and you also have another attachment from Bonnie Nickerson for the next 4 items, and you also have Chairman James DeRentis present on Zoom.
Oh, okay, welcome. One thing at a time. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4-page document where it identifies exhibit 14. Is that what it is? No.
15.
15. And you want that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Ritchie makes that motion. Second.
Second.
Commissioner Pandey, overview, discussion, all in favor? So is the chairperson going to testify this time?
Mr. President, I'm just here to say thank you for your consideration, and Bonnie submitted the changes that we had proposed.
So I guess we'll just kind of go, so it looks like you said, this state for opportunity, section 11, 10, 12.
Yep, so we're actually on 1108 first right now.
Well, I'm just gonna go by the letter.
Okay.
To me, Hunt and Peck for this letter to figure out what sections should be covered, I think. So I think it's, right? Is it- No. Yeah, so it's section 10, 12, Department of Planning and Urban Development. Commissioners and folks, if you can go to section 10, 12. Yep, and she said, it looks like they want to keep everything the same until you get to subsection A6. And it presently says, upon request of the commission or city council, prepare rules and regulations to govern, control, restrict the platting or otherwise subdivision of land, amendments, thereof, submission to the city council for its approval. She wants to remove that upon the request of the commission or the city council. And then she wants to say it gets submitted to this, not to the city council anymore, gets submitted to the city plan commission. And then she also wants to say in accordance with general laws in section 2-256 of the code of ordinance. And then there's two other subsections added. 7, to prepare the annual budget for the administrator and the federal funds allocated in the form of the basis of the city of Providence or U.S. Department of Housing, along with other governments. 8, to implement the comprehensive plan for various means, including but unlimited to developing land use regulations, reviewing development projects, funding housing, community development projects, conducting planning studies, and carrying out capital improvement projects. So, commissioners have anything to say to that? I think Councilman Anthony, Councilman Anthony?
Yes, I just have it. I'm wondering why. I'm a little worried about taking out, particularly in number 6, taking out upon the request of commissioner, city council, and also, taking out the submission to the city council. I'm worried that there's interference here with our ability to participate in this process.
It's a valid point. I don't know if the chairman's ready to give a reply at this, or do you want to forward that request? Actually, that's not your area, planning of, it's not his, chairman's not in that one, sorry.
No,
So he doesn't have to deal with this.
no.
So for me, I kind of concur, by the way, anytime when I see things when in the charter, people looking to limit or dispose of city council authority, always gives me concerns, because the whole purpose of this government is democracy, is to have a co-equal branch government, should be checks and balances, and anytime you take any checks and balances away, it leads to problems in the future. And I don't think, and the council, albeit that most people have their ups and downs, is the counterbalance to any executive branch and what they're doing and in this case, Department of Planning and Development. So for me, I would have an issue removing this kind of council oversight of this check and balance. Commissioner Ritchie?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Councilman Anthony and yourself, and I would just add that the council is elected, and this looks like we're going to be delegating authority to appointed or bureaucratic individuals. It should, the elected folks should have a say in these matters, and so I won't support this change.
Councilwoman Anthony?
I also, on 8, I've got a problem, the same problem with 8. I'm just not sure whether we need to implement the comprehensive plan through various means, including but not limited to. I think it gives them a broad authority, which I don't think is right.
I concur with Councilman Anthony at this time, because I always have this issue as a council person for many years where people seem to forget that we're a what do you call a representative republic, and council members get elected through, and they're elected by a group of people in the city, and those people said, you're our voice downtown, and your job is to, and you have, when I speak, when my council colleagues speak, we're not speaking personally, we're speaking on behalf of a group of people we represent, hence democracy. And I agree with Councilman, Commissioner Ritchie, what you said is that, I don't know why we need to add these other pieces to it, because it seems like we're adding things to the charter, which by the way, things could change. I don't, department, who knows what happens, name the federal departments, et cetera. So I generally concur that I don't think we should really touch that unless there's really concrete, some serious reason why we should delegate elected legislative power to a planning department. So I don't
Do they have comments?
know. Anything?
I don't know.
No, she's not here. She's not here.
Oh, not even here.
Mr. DeRentis is the chairman of the other piece. I kind of went backwards now. Going forward. So I think, any other comments, questions?
I just want to comment that is, if we make the change, we're giving our authority away, we're giving our power away, so we're not going to be able to represent the community no more. And I would say no to this change.
Fair enough. All right. We can want to move on to the next.
Yes, move on.
Thank you very much. Next, it looks like section 1013 City Planning Commission. I don't see, is that any changes? There are no proposed changes, right? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilwoman Anthony?
I'm sorry, I was just, this is exactly the area we were hoping to have, as we discussed it at the last meeting about having the mayor does the appointment of the members, is my understanding, it says 5 members here, but we were talking about possibly having more of a balance, recommend more of a balance on this, so we might propose some changes on this section.
So in this section, the idea of having 7 members and maybe having the mayor can appoint, consider conversation 4 and the council appoints 3. And so it's more balanced from both branches of government,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So that's, Councilwoman Anthony's talking about that,
Right.
which is the idea, try to create that.
Right.
Commission members, what do you all think about that proposal?
I think,
Commissioner Richard?
yes, I think Councilman Anthony may have been referring to the previous meeting where we were talking. Commissioner principally had suggested that councilmatic appointments be on just about all the boards. I think that's what you were referring to.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it would have, if that happens, it would include this board.
right. Would be the plan commission. And I would tend to say that we probably should have it like non-council member, it probably should be council appointments by a council. Appointment by a council, not a
Yeah.
councilmatic, not a council person, which I think is good. You know, if that's makes
You
any,
have one appointment there, not, right? You have
The main
the council
situation-
president has a designee, a voting designee. Unless it was changed in the
Yeah,
past. I
anyway,
had
so the
that
president,
position.
city council, the mayor, or the designee shall serve as members. Except at any vacancy, one of the appointed members of the commission shall be filled by the mayor with approval of the city council. Okay. So it's basically just one.
It's one,
So I guess the president and the mayor are designees.
but you could appoint, and I think you
Somebody,
have a person.
yeah.
Like I said, I served in that position many years ago on behalf of the council. That's how I know. I use it.
Councilwoman Anthony.
So there, I think, so actually it's 5 appointments, and then the 2 from the mayor and the council president are ex officio,
Right.
non-voting. So, yeah.
But the practice was, Councilman, excuse me for interrupting, and the city solicitor had moved, going way back, going back 20 years, maybe more. Even though the ex officio, they had voting rights, and we voted on all matters. But that might be something that needs to be clarified. Maybe nobody challenged that opinion at that time, but
So it's something to look into, and I asked the city solicitor, I know Commissioner, Principal was talking about it, Councilman Anthony, council members are interested, maybe this is something.
Tomorrow.
Look at, okay? Thank you. Councilman Anthony, you good? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have section 1014 comprehensive plan. Doesn't look like there's any proposed, excuse me, there is, and, this is the comprehensive plan, right? This is section 1014. So if everything stays the same to the very end. It looks like in subsection 3, they're looking at, it presently says, all development and project plans and proposals in all privately developed projects and developments which require approval by the city council or by other city boards, commissions or committees shall be, the president says, submitted by the appropriate aforementioned public agency to the director of the Department of Planning and Urban Development, I guess, for the determination as to the compliance with the comprehensive plan and its elements. All appeals from the director's decision shall be submitted to the city plan commission for determination. I think what they would like to do is they'd like to take out in line 3, the committee shall be, and remove submitted by the appropriate aforementioned public agency, just simply say the committee shall, let's say, reviewed by the director of the Department of Planning and Development, or his or her designee for determination. And then they remove all appeals from the director's decisions shall be submitted to the city plan commission. So it goes, the director designee shall report to the public agency as to compliance with the comprehensive plan. So it looks like what they're looking to do is to, it says something. Is it, I presume that what they're looking to do is to stop, not having an appeal process. Am I reading this right?
Well,
I mean, there won't be an appeal, right?
they should actually be here, quite frankly, to explain their changes. Take it up, but, you know, the time is.
Chairman DeRentis, was he talking on an issue?
He's here for, PRA, which is number 4.
I won't give a chance to speak on that. Also, we haven't got that. So I'll pass on this.
Yeah.
Can we offer an opportunity for them to present on the reasons why they want to make these changes?
I'd be more than happy to.
I'm
The
particularly.
director's track record of going before city council committees is something that most people probably run out of office. I can tell you that I'm sure she does not usually attend nor likes to come, so I'll leave it at that. We can ask her again.
Well, I guess
Oh, it doesn't
we
mean-
can do our due diligence by asking one more time for them to come and explain their
I agree with
priorities.
them. I don't know if they'll show up or.
We'll ask again.
Certainly can send the deputy. For
Absolutely.
more than one
Yeah, exactly.
person who happens to work in that department.
I'm particularly interested because of the addition they want to make to 1012, number 8. So I'm curious as to what's the rationale behind that. And so if you can at least extend an opportunity for them to.
Commissioner Ocean has requested we ask them again. Okay.
I will.
So did I not give the chairman an opportunity? Did he have any proposal? He just,
No, he was referring to what Bonnie submitted.
okay, I don't, hopefully, didn't feel we were not showing proper reference. With that, do we have, so I guess with section 4, we're done, right? Item number 4 on the document, item number 5 on the agenda, I should say. Item 6 and item 7. Commissioner, do you have anything else you want to consider or discuss? Well, thank you all, by the way, for attending again. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. We're gonna keep moving along and hopefully we'll have some good stuff for these proposed to the council. Any final thoughts? Do we have a motion to? And from the bullpen, yes. Definitely majority.
When is the public hearing going in effect?
I can get this, but I don't have to.
Yeah. I appreciate, you know, it's like we around.
We'll make sure that.
What we do is probably for the next time, let's make sure there's a posting, right? I think they should be posted soon. Aren't they posted already at another date? Because I know that the commission members were willing to become, right? Aren't they posted on the web,
Yes,
right?
well, the
Aren't
meetings,
aren't the public hearing?
They changed them.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So we, let's, okay. Because if I look at all the commissioners, they want to take up and have.
Right, but that's scheduled with scratch. And you're obviously.
So so just for the public record, everybody, hey, 1 second, please. It's still on the record. It's on the record for the public. We will have a new public hearing date, and in which the commissioners will, are willing to volunteer and to run them, to manage those meetings. And they'll have that for the next meeting or before that next meeting. With that, everybody, any other comments or questions? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second that. You second, Mr. Ritchie.
Second.
Discussion? All in
None,
favor?
all in favor.
Now we're off. But we're still on the record. So Sean, if I could, while you have the commissioner. See, we should get the beats and everything.
Yeah.
I want to.
So vamos a ver,